for Unit 3, Part 2, Day 7 notes, we're talking about parallel and perpendicular lines. And more importantly, we're talking about their slopes. So what characteristics do parallel lines have with their slopes, and then vice versa with the perpendicular lines? So first, it says the parallel lines are two lines that never intersect on a graph or in general, and those slopes are the same. So you have the exact same slope for each line if they're parallel. For perpendicular, it says two lines that intersect at a right angle. So slopes have an opposite reciprocal. So just to practice this skill here, we have example 1. So we compare the two slopes and we decide, are they parallel, are they perpendicular, or they are neither. Okay? So I'm going to actually go to part B first because I think it's the easiest one. So I look to see I've got -7 and -7. Obviously that's the same exact slope. So that's parallel. Okay? And the reason was because it was the same exact number, same slope. Okay? Now, in A and C, we have something very similar here. We have a whole number, then we have a fraction. But if you notice, these are both positives. Here we've got positive and a negative. Okay? So, take the fraction, 1/2. If I flip that around, that would be 2/1. If I reduce that, that's 2. And if I throw a negative in it, I've got an opposite. So that's opposite of 1/2, okay, positive 1/2. And I reciprocated it, which reciprocal means flip your fraction. So because this number, -2, is an opposite reciprocal of 1/2, it is perpendicular. Oops. Okay. One other thing too is if you want to make this a fraction, you can see that they're flipped. 1/2, 2/1. One's positive, one's negative. Maybe it's a little bit easier to visually see how they are reciprocals from each other. Plus they're opposite. Okay, here, 1/6. If I flip that around, I get 6/1, which equals 6. I have that. The only problem is that one of them is not negative. They're both positive. So in this case, they are neither perpendicular or parallel. Alright, so in example 2, this just wants us to find slopes of parallel lines. So find the slope of a line that is parallel to the given line. So in this equation, is your 3 or your 7 your slope? Your 3 is. And because parallel means same, my new slope would be the same, 3. Okay, so here's my slope. If I had a different line that was parallel to that one, it would have the same slope, -3/2. Okay, in example 3, it says write an equation of the line in point-slope form that is parallel to this given line, and it passes through this point. But you got to write it in point-slope form. So in this equation, what do we need? We need our slope. Okay? So we need that 3. This is extra information to us. Okay? And then our point is x1 and y1. I'm going to label this M also. So M for our 3, got our point, our formula, x minus x1. Okay, now plug everything in. So we've got y minus y1. y1 is 3. Our slope stayed the same because it was parallel. And then x minus x1 is 1. I don't have any double negatives, so this is it. I'm done. Okay, part B. We look to see what is our slope. Our slope is -5. That's M. That's extra information. And our point is x1, y1. Remember, that is called the known point. I know what the point is. It's the known point. So now I plug all of that in to my formula. So y minus y1 is 2. M is negative 5. And then I have x minus x1, which is a negative 4. And like always, check for double negatives. So here, this becomes positive, and the rest looks okay. Alright, now, for the second part of the notes, it's asking you to find perpendicular slopes of perpendicular lines. So here, I see that I have a slope of 3, okay? So I take that and make it a fraction. I flip it. And I have to change the sign. So because that was positive, this would become negative. So my new slope is a negative 1/3. So I saw that word perpendicular, and I think opposite reciprocal. Flip the fraction, change the sign. Flip the fraction, change the sign. So I've got negative 1/4. I flip it, and I keep it positive. So 4 divided by 1 makes a positive 4. Okay. Example 5. Write an equation of a line in point-slope form that is perpendicular to the given line and passes through the given point. So, in the equation, what is your slope? 1/3. That's my M. This extra information. My point is x1 and y1. Okay, now let's address the slope. I can't use 1/3. I have to use the opposite reciprocal. So over here, I'm going to flip that around to be 3/1. I'm going to change the sign, so it's going to be a negative 3/1, and that reduces to negative 3. So I have my slope, I have my point, I have to make point-slope form. So y minus y1 is 4. The slope is negative 3. And then I have x minus x1, which is 2. No double negatives, good to go. Okay, part B, last example for day 7. So find my slope. It's negative 5. That's extra. My point is x1, y1. I have to take this slope. Because it's perpendicular, I've got to make it opposite, and I have to reciprocate it or flip it, make it a fraction. So, negative 5/1 becomes 1/5. If it's negative, it becomes positive. So I'm going to use positive 1/5 as my new slope, use my point, and plug in. So y minus y1 is negative 2. My new slope is 1/5. And then I have x minus x1, which is 5. Double negative becomes positive. And that's it.